of the Tuesday Night Live podcast or Live podcast, as we've been told by a singing app of all things. But no, we're on a Thursday this week simply because we couldn't do Tuesday. We've done it a couple of times before, so if you're new around here, we do usually do these things on a Tuesday, but we have the odd Thursday in there as well. And yeah, this week we're going to be talking about quite a few things, actually. There's a few things that have actually happened, which is nice for us, because I think the last couple of weeks we've been scraping around the bottom of the barrel for some topics. But this week, obviously, we've got the England World Cup squad. That was announced earlier this week. We'll be giving our opinions on that. Also, the Premier League season, 2017-18 season, finished at the weekend, so we'll have a brief talk about that as well. The new F1 2018 game has been announced, as well as the Spanish GP over the weekend, which we'll talk about, and anything else that we fancy discussing. So, a good evening, everybody, and of course, a good evening to my co-host, the fabulous Mr. TIJ. How are you doing?
Evening all. Going to be a great one tonight. As Joe says, for once we've actually got something to talk about. I'm good. And don't think I'm ignoring you. I've just got to finish a round on Rory McIlroy. So
yeah, so while he's doing that, I'll just read through the chat a little bit. So Aaron Hart was asking why the Tuesday Night Live podcast... why it's called Tuesday Night Live when it's on a Thursday. Well, it's usually on a Tuesday, just this week it's had to be on a Thursday. A big hello to Alexandra Costa as well, who's come over from my FM in the Future videos, so that's nice to see.
Hello.
And he said that this is his first time, so I'm sure you'll have a good laugh. Yes, we've just said what we'll be talking about tonight. Toby was a bit naughty in the chat, as always. The future of Arsenal, we have actually talked about that before. A couple of weeks ago on the podcast, we talked about Wenger leaving, about his legacy, who we think might take over, and what might be in store for Arsenal in the next few years. What do you think about Big Sam getting sacked? I mean, I think it's a disgrace, but Everton fans seem to think that they're better than Big Sam. A lot of clubs have thought that in the past, and look what happened to them. But we shall see, I guess. It depends who they're going to bring in. It's looking like Marco Silva. They wanted him in November, so that's no surprise, really. I mean, he's a good manager. He did a decent job at Hull. Was unlucky not to keep them up last year, and Watford start the season they were top half, I think. So definitely would be a good appointment for Everton. Yes, and I support Birmingham City, as if we didn't know that, Aaron. As if we didn't know. Glad to see you guys didn't fall off the Championship. It would have sucked if Birmingham went down to League One. Well, I know a few people that would probably disagree with that, but I don't think we're two of them, are we? I don't know. You might be. I know you're from that neck of the woods, but anyway, have you finished Rory McIlroy yet?
No, still got a few holes to go. But I'm
a few holes. You only played 4 holes around.
Yeah. Anyway. I can play and talk.
Okay.
Promise.
You can multitask, apparently.
Hello.
He can't multitask.
It's on the loading screen.
You what?
It's on the loading screen. I don't need to look at that at the moment.
Okay. I don't know. Do you want to get into the podcast?
Yes,
the Aston Villa fans, right? Yeah. The Aston Villa fans will disagree that Birmingham. It's nice to see Birmingham in the Championship, but Villa might be in the Premier League next season. A playoff final between Villa and Fulham. I'd like to see Villa go up personally, but
I think Fulham will do it though.
Fulham have had a cracking second half of the season, so yeah. But anyway, for anyone who's watching, let us know how you are doing tonight. We're obviously just running late because Toby couldn't get his timings right.
You can talk.
Well, we asked you to talk before, and all we got out was hello. So, Aaron asked, "What do we think about David Moyes leaving West Ham?" Again, I think it's just I don't know why they've sacked him particularly. It's not a big surprise to me. Obviously, there's been rumours all season that both Allardyce and Moyes would be leaving at the end of the season, so it's not a big surprise. It's a shame though, because I think it just puts into perspective how little time managers are getting these days at clubs, and even managers that are doing a good job are getting sacked and moved on, which is happening at Watford every year as well. It'll be interesting to see if they keep their manager this year. But no, what do you think about Moyes?
I was a bit shocked, to be fair. As you say, he's kind of steadied the ship, hasn't he? After Bilic was a good manager, I just feel like he lost the dressing room a bit, and he steadied the ship. It's been some quite tough times at the club. I mean, especially after that protest they had against Burnley, but that's a bit of a shock. I don't know who they're bringing against him, but I've heard, this is an exclusive, that the Arsenal job is between Allardyce and Moyes.
I mean, to be fair, I think either of them would do a pretty good job at Arsenal, so I don't think it would be too bad, especially Allardyce. I think Allardyce deserves a chance at a really top club, but it's not going to happen. He's the complete opposite in terms of style of play, so it's actually looking like it's going to go to Mikel Arteta, which is a bit of a strange one, but I guess people thought that about Wenger, so take that as you will. But Alexandra says between Villa and Fulham, he thinks Villa are a bigger club historically. 100%. Fulham's highest place in the Premier League was 7th, I think, a few years ago under Woy. Villa are a massive club compared to Fulham, but then Fulham could be playing at Wembley soon when their owner buying the stadium. Who wants to see another London club in the Premiership? Not me. I mean, that's fair enough. Villa are a Birmingham side, second biggest city in the country, so either which way you're going to get a big city in the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
West Ham did try to sign Fonseca, or whatever his name is, but he rejected to stay at Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, fair enough. I think they're interested in Benitez, actually.
That's the manager.
You are?
That's the manager, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was talk about... Apparently the favourite I've heard is Rafa Benitez. I can't see that happening. Because...
I think Newcastle have more potential than West Ham.
Exactly, personally. Yeah. I don't see him leaving Newcastle, even though the owner's a bit of a... Well, we don't need to talk about Mike Ashley, but I don't see him losing.
Well, the fans love him. And from somebody that's from the area, the fans absolutely adore Rafa, and I think he knows that, and I think he's happy at Newcastle. I think he will get backed in the transfer market, a top half finish. Yeah. They'll probably have a decent amount to spend. He'll bring in 3-4 players, and they'll progress next season. Aaron Hart says he thinks Fulham are better. Well, I mean, you would, wouldn't you? You're a Birmingham City supporter. Apparently, I'm totally not biased, but that is sarcasm from him. But I am unbiased in the comparison of Fulham and Aston Villa. I don't particularly support either of them. They're both pretty much the same in my estimations. But as Alexandra said, Aston Villa are a bigger club, and I would quite like to see them back in the Premier League because I do like Steve Bruce a lot. So, and John Terry plays for them, doesn't he? So, wouldn't it be great to see him back in the Premier League? Alexandra Costa says Rafa Benitez at West Ham. I would sooner see him at Arsenal than at the Hammers. I mean, in FM he always goes to Arsenal.
Just about to say that, yeah.
But I don't see it happening. No. I think it is going to be Vieira or Arteta, to be honest, rightly or wrongly. it's looking that way. And I don't know how to feel about it. It is nice, though. You know, they're pretty much guaranteed to finish 6th or above anyway next year. So it's a good chance for somebody, I guess, to go in there and blow everybody away. I mean, at the end of the day, Pep Guardiola was a player and not long became Barcelona manager. And, you know, it can happen. It can happen. But anyway, shall we talk about this England squad? It was announced yesterday, and there's quite a few surprises, I would say, in there. But overall, not a very shocking squad. I think there's a couple of omissions that we'd probably say
are a disgrace.
Or an outrage, as you said yesterday. But Joe, guess what I have? A Birmingham City shirt on now. Well, good for you. Anyway, so first of all, we'll talk about the goalkeepers. So, not really any surprises in the fact he's picked Pickford, Butland, and Nick Pope as his 3 goalkeepers for the World Cup. Obviously, no place for Joe Hart, which I think everybody's applauding that decision. I don't think there's anybody criticising that. But who's your number one? Go on.
I would go, Nick Pope. I would go for number 1. I feel like it'd be good as we go through the squad to go to make a starting 11, but don't tell each other who we're going for. But
okay.
I've kind of obviously told you already, Nick Pope. I believe Nick Pope should be given the chance. A, because he's been the best goalkeeper all season. The stats have said that. And I know stats don't mean everything, but I just feel like he's been the most consistent this year, and I feel like he deserves not necessarily just deserves a chance over the other 2, but I feel Butland's probably very low in confidence. And Pickford is a good goal. I think that Pickford will get the number 1 spot, but I would like to see Nick Pope get the number 1 spot. So that's a hint at who my goalkeeper is. What formation are we going to go with for a start? Because I feel like it'd be a bit warped if we didn't go with a formation. I'm going to go, I think. I feel like we need 2 strikers.
But are we going for what we would choose, or are we going for what we think will be?
Yeah. Okay. What we would choose, yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, that changes everything then.
I don't believe in anything apart from 4 at the back, personally, so... Well,
you pick what you want, and I'll pick what I want, yeah?
True.
Hello to Joe Hansel, good to see you back, and hello to my good friend Carla. Evening. Right, so, not too much to say about the goalkeepers. Obviously, Butland, I mean, for many years has been a number 2. Pickford over the last couple of years has come onto the scene, and he's done well at both Sunderland and Everton, but, Nick Pope, according to the stats, has had a better season than the 2. So, we'll see. We'll see who gets into our starting 11. So now onto the defenders, or should we start at right backs first? So we've got obviously Kyle Walker, there's Kieran Trippier as well, and Alexander Arnold, who is a surprise inclusion. I'm pretty sure he's uncapped, isn't he? Or has he been capped before?
I don't think he has. No, he wasn't actually. I don't think he was actually picked for the friendlies. Beforehand, it was Tarkowski and Ben Mee that were picked before. But personally, I feel like it's a good one. I don't think he'll be first choice. No way. I feel like he'd be. He's a backup right back behind Walker and Trippier. And at the end of the day, I just think it's a nice inclusion. It kind of shows that, look, you've played well, so you deserve it. A little bit like the Nick Pope effect. Southgate showing, right, you've played well this season, so you deserve to be in the squad. A little bit like the Loftus-Cheek thing, which I don't agree with that. But, 3 good right-backs picked there. I don't really think anybody else could have got in. I can't really think of anybody else right-back-wise.
Nathaniel Klein, but I don't know if he's...
Yeah, his fitness is quite poor, and also Joe
Glenn
Gomez
Johnson?
as
No,
well.
I'm joking.
Joe Gomez, but Joe Gomez is injured, so I think that was fairly straightforward in terms of right-backs. But
I think picking 3 is quite interesting, though.
Yeah.
And, I've heard a lot of things about Walker playing at centre-back instead and having Trippier on the right-hand side, which I don't know how much I agree with, but it's apparently how Southgate likes to play, and I actually like that Gareth Southgate has picked players that he wants to play. He's not picking them on reputation. He's not picking them on necessarily who's played well. He's picking the people he wants to play. And, you know, if he doesn't want to play Chris Smalling or Joe Hart or, you know, Jack Wilshere, for example, then he's not going to play them. And I think that's, you know, not bad. Not too bad. You're talking about nonsense there. I think the word you're looking for is nonsense. I think that you know.
Yeah,
I think
probably,
that's what I'm talking.
Yeah, probably. All the right backs are quite versatile though. Alexander-Arnold can play centre mid if he's needed as well. So they're not necessarily just right backs. So I think that's good that, you know, he's picked some versatile players there. It's quite good. In terms of centre backs, you've got Cahill, which I think is a bit of a weird one. I don't think Cahill's played much this season. It's obviously been Christensen and Rudiger and who's the other centre back? I'm trying to think now. But in terms of him this year, he's actually played 27 games in the league. I didn't actually realise that Cahill had played that much, but compared to last year, that's 10 games less. I don't think he'll be first choice. I'm glad he's called Harry Maguire up because I think Harry Maguire's been good this season. I feel like, well, there's Phil Jones, Harry Maguire, John Stones, technically Kyle Walker as well. Big drop in terms of someone who's been there for a long time is Chris Smalling, but, you know, fair enough. He wants to, you know, make headlines, as something else said the other day. I think that's quite good. And also James Tarkowski on the standby list if needed as well. So I'm going to pick my two centre-backs now. So him and him. And that's my two centre-backs. So whilst you're doing your centre-backs, I'll say about the left-backs. You've got Fabian Delph, who's been really a little bit like Ashley Young actually this year. A bit of a revelation. Both of them, of course, former Villa players. There you go. Coming up probably from the Birmingham team, you know, as Villa reserves in youth academy at Birmingham, and then joining the proper squad in Villa. And of course, Fabian Delph called him when Mendy got his injury early on in the season. He's done really well, much like Ashley Young at Man United, and I quite like Ashley Young. He's got quite a lot of pace. And can be
not anymore. He doesn't, surely, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's only he's only 32, nice and young, you know, not so let's bring chicken.
I'm surprised that Young's gone, personally.
Yeah, I am, but then I think who else is there really left backs for England?
Luke Shaw, I guess.
Luke Shaw's injured, I'm guessing though again.
Bertrand, isn't he?
He was dropped. That was a bit of a shock, but I wonder why that. I wonder if that's because he plays for Southampton. I feel like a lot of these players have been picked because of the club they're at. For me,
that's a good point, actually.
Apart from a few in the standby list, and the fact that there's no competitive goalkeepers at the top clubs. You look, you know, there's obviously Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Leicester. They're the only teams in the squad. If you discount the goalkeepers.
Arsenal as well.
And Arsenal.
Crystal Palace.
And Arsenal. There's only one Arsenal player. Wow. In Welbeck. And obviously 6 out of those 8 finished in the top 8. And obviously Burnley finished 7th as well. So, yeah.
And did Leicester, a very good point, actually.
And did Leicester finish 8th in the end?
No, Everton did. So,
okay. So, if you include Pickford into that argument, then that's, you know... and obviously Leicester finished 9th in the end. So, in fact, basically, they picked everyone from the top 9, apart from the goalkeepers. So, that's an interesting one to talk about. But
apart from Butland, yeah.
Yeah.
And Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, technically, yeah. But I'll pick my centre-back. So, left-back, yeah, I'll go with him for starting 11. Midfielders, there aren't actually many midfielders, really, if you look at the squad itself.
Which I think hints at what formation he's playing heavily.
Yeah, well, in terms of central midfielders, definitely. You've got Dele Alli, Eric Dyer, Henderson, I think they were three obvious choices, even though I don't like Henderson. He's always going to get in. Jesse Lingard, again, just a good inclusion. And then we come on to Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I'm surprised at that. I feel like Harry Winks is one that would have been better. I
don't think he's played a lot recently, though, Winks.
No.
Which is why I think he's not been picked. I don't know why he hasn't picked Wilshere. I mean, I think Wilshere has had a good season, and I think
that's ridiculous.
He's a big game player as well. You know, I really don't get the Loftus-Cheek one, but then you know there is the argument that England know they're not going to do well at this World Cup, so they're trying to give as many players experience as possible. Yeah. Which, you know, brings about the question, why on earth is Welbeck in the squad? You know, but it's fine. Delph was another weird one for me.
He has played well though this year. No doubt about that.
How regularly has he played for City?
Pretty much every game.
Okay.
Because basically what happened at the start of the season, Benjamin Mendy, their only left back, got injured. So Delph had to play left back, and in the end he played 22 games. So if you kind of think that he didn't play till sort of October in the league, that's pretty much maybe 75% of games, 70% of games. And that's nearly actually more than he played combined in the league the last 2 years.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why I was taken off. Like he hadn't played for Man City at all, really, since he signed for them.
But as I say, I feel like probably a bit of a better option than Ryan Bertrand. But as you say, I think the ridiculous one is that Wilshere hasn't been picked. I mean, that's just crazy. I just feel like Wilshere, okay, you know, people are divided on him and he gets injured quite a bit, fair enough, but I feel like Wilshere's, as you say, he's a big game player, and I think he can really turn it on for those games that matter, and that's someone that England don't really have. I mean, I can't really see Jordan Henderson as someone who's going to be a real threat for one of the big teams. So as Wilshere turned over Barcelona in that one. I know that people always comment on that game against Barcelona, but Wilshere turned that game over, and I feel like he could do that again if given the chance, but he hasn't been given the chance, so bad decision by Southgate there.
Well, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? But Aaron's saying in the chat that Wilshere's injury prone, but he's not injured at the moment, is he? You know, like I think he's had a pretty good season in terms of not being injured. So another argument was John Joe Shelvey. You know, why wasn't he on the plane? And I think it's mainly because of the way he wants to play. And, you know, I'm going to say it. He's going to play 3-5-2. You know, or 3-5-1-1 or whatever you want to call it. And that's why he's got three right backs and, you know, technically three left backs as well. Not many central mids. And you know, and then he's got the likes of Lingard or Ali, who he can put in behind Kane, I guess. But he's going to play 3-5-1-1 or whatever, and that's why maybe Wilshere's missed out because he wouldn't have played him. But captain is Henderson, I believe. So or at least I think it is, although the way I'm looking at it now, it says he's going to discuss the captaincy when the players meet up on Sunday. So, I mean, we haven't really had an official announcement of who the captain is, you know, ever since Rooney stepped down. So
yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's a bit of an odd one. But, no, I mean, moving on, you've got your... I don't know if you mentioned these players in your midfielders, but sort of more attacking midfielders. You've got the likes of Ali, Rashford, Lingard, Welbeck, Sterling, Vardy to a certain extent. I don't know how you feel about all of those, and I think all of them were pretty much nailed on to be in the England squad. Maybe apart from Welbeck. I think Welbeck could potentially have been omitted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're going to be relying a lot on Harry Kane up top. And that's what we did at the Euros. He was absolute rubbish at the Euros. Hopefully he won't be on corners this time. And Vardy will be the impact sub. I think that's pretty much where we're going to go. So, do you want to name your midfielders? And or have you already done that?
Yeah, it's already done.
Right, so, have you got your full 11?
Yeah, I have, yeah. Yeah, in terms of forwards, I think that's quite encouraging. Rashford, in my opinion, is our best player. And he certainly wasn't the Euros in that 20 minutes against Iceland. He was the only player who could be bothered against Iceland, I felt. And I
That's
feel like
a very interesting opinion.
he was, definitely.
No, that I agree with that, but you said he's our best player. I don't know what you're smoking, but yeah. I want some of it.
He is.
Harry Kane is miles better than Rashford.
Yeah,
sorry,
but has Kane ever performed for England? Certainly not at the last competition. And I feel like Kane bottles it a bit. Well, I suppose they all do, so it's not really much of... I don't know, I just felt that when Rashford came on in the Euros, he looked like he not necessarily commanded the team, but he was a player who, gave 100%. I don't feel like some other players did.
But then again, Rashford was, 18 at the time?
Yeah. But I feel like he still gives 100% in every game now. For Man United, when they played Liverpool early on in the season, they were absolutely fantastic. Well, not the team themselves, but they were very good in terms of Rashford and the way he scored that goal from the counter. And that's what we need a bit of a pace, apart, other than Jordan Henderson doing this stupid, pass it along. Can't be dealing with that. So, so that's an interesting one. Sterling, of course, someone who's played very well as well this year. Sterling is still too greedy, in my opinion, with the ball, but he was at Liverpool, so can't really get him out of that. Vardy, one who's just got to be a staple holding there now. And actually, there's no strikers on the standby list, which I find quite interesting because, you've only got to have... Because I wouldn't say Rashford's a striker, personally. I'd have him on the wing. So, if one of Kane or Vardy goes down, and obviously Sterling's a winger, in my opinion, as well, you've got to rely on Welbeck. And I feel like that, standby options is a bit worrying. I don't quite know why they've put Heaton as a standby option because... There's 3 goalkeepers, you know what I mean? That very likely that two of them are going to get injured.
You've got to have 3 goalkeepers in your squad, so if one of those gets injured, they have to call up one of them. But no, I'm a bit surprised that he didn't call up a Jermaine Defoe or Andy Carroll type figure. Yeah, just for the last 20 minutes, if you need a goal, throw them on. Something a bit different. Obviously, Defoe's a king poacher. He would score a goal if you put him in the 6-yard box with the ball. Carroll lumped the ball forward to him and he heads it in. You could take out the likes of Loftus-Cheek and maybe even Welbeck and put in a striker or two and give us a bit more depth. I think we do lack depth. I think that is the big problem with it. But would you like to run us through who your goalkeeper is going to be and why? Right, so Nick Pope, I said earlier, I just feel like he's the most solid person in the net and has been this season. That's why I've picked him. There's not really much behind it, but yeah, Nick Pope. Yeah, I've went for Pickford. I think he's had a good season this year. I think he's probably our best goalkeeper at the moment. And he's probably the most confident. And, I know Nick Pope's had the best season, but I don't put Nick Pope in front of Brazil, and I don't think he would be as confident. Whereas I think Pickford is very self-assured, and he has a calmness about him. But I do fancy us to play at least 2 goalkeepers at this World Cup, because I think one of them will make a mistake at some point. So did I watch the Spencer FC video on England squad? No. Defense, I've gone for. Well, this will give away the formation I'm playing, but I've gone for Walker, Stones, and Maguire. a bit of an interesting one. I think 3 at the back is the trendy thing to do. I think it's the positive way to play for us, actually. And I think we're not going to beat teams playing a flat 4-4-2. So I think 3-5-2, Stones and Maguire, decent options. I think Walker, I've only put him in there because Gareth Southgate seems to like him. I'll probably play, Jones or Dyer in all honesty. But, yeah. I've went for 3 at the back. What have you gone for?
Just a quick one before I talk about it. I can't believe this. France have just announced their squad. Lacazette, Martial, and Payet have all been left out.
Well, Payet got injured last night, I think, in
Did
the
he?
Europa League final. Yeah.
But Lacazette more than anything. Blimey.
Yeah, but think about the strikers that France have. They've got Griezmann. They've got Benzema.
Benzema's not in it.
Is he not? Wow.
No, must be injured.
So who have they got attacking wise?
Dembele, Fekir, Giroud, Griezmann, Lamar, Mbappe, and Suavin, I think it is, by some Marseille. Paul Pogba's in there as well. Akante, Nzonzi, obviously Lloris in goal. But back to my back 4. I've gone with the same 3 than you have. Walker, Maguire, and Stones, and then Delph on the left.
Okay, I've went Rose on the left and Trippier on the right for wing-backs, I guess. Yeah. I just think Rose is better. Like Delph and Young aren't natural left backs. I think.
I didn't even notice Danny Rose was there, to be honest. I don't think I've even discussed him. I didn't notice Danny Rose was there, to be honest, until now. That might have influenced my decision, but
yeah, Young's a winger in years gone by, and Delph is a centre mid, so that's why I've went Rose really.
Yeah.
Midfield.
So the 2 central midfielders we'll go for first. Ali and Dyer. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. 2 solid players. Again, Eric Dyer, I think more in a more defensive role. He's very good at that, and Ali may be more of an attacking role. So I kind of feel like it's not going to be like a solid central 2. It's going to be kind of Dyer a bit further back and Ali going up. I'm playing a standard 4-4-2, but on the wings I've got Rashford and Sterling. Again, I don't really see who else you could pick there. Obviously, Southgate's going for a different type of team to me, so it's a bit tricky. But for me, yeah, Rashford and Sterling on the wings. Yeah. So what are you playing with? A 5-3-2 technically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you just go
no, a 3. Yeah, so a 3-5. Is it 5? Oh, maybe I've missed a player. I don't know, hold on. A 5. Yes, I've missed a player out. Right. Be right back. Right, we'll do that as well. Then.
He's hopeless, isn't he? Hopeless.
He does a maths degree, Right. So I've gone for 2 centre mids, but I've kind of messed it up now. So we'll say 3 centre mids, and we'll say Dyer, Ali, and Hendo in the middle for me. Simply because I don't know who else gets in there ahead of them. I mean,
yeah, agreed.
I seen somebody pick Lingard in centre mid, but it just doesn't sit well with me. No. By the way, Aaron said something about putting the face cam on before. I don't know what he was on about. I've had a look, and we both have our face.
I think he probably means pictures of our squad. I'm guessing.
Okay.
So I've sent the link to my squad on BBC.
Okay. I've just wrote mine on a piece of paper. So.
Old school.
Yeah. And then moving forward, I've went Sterling behind, obviously Kane up top. So yeah, Sterling in a sort of free role in behind the striker. I think that would have a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Just Kane and Vardy up front, fairly self-explanatory. yeah, the only real player left, obviously, in striking role then is Welbeck. So obviously just on the bench, potentially come on for one of the two at the end, or it could be moved around for. Admittedly, my formation isn't optimal for what Southgate wants to play, but for me, I don't like this I don't like this wing back business personally.
No. I just think I don't think we're gonna play or beat teams by being defensive, and I think if we played 4-4-2, we'd get into the old England where we just don't concede, but we also don't score and go out on penalties. I think the only way we can do well is use the pace of our wing backs, and use the creativeness of the likes of Ali and Sterling, and try and get as much service as possible to Harry Kane up top. And yeah, I think 3-5-2 is the best way to do that with the squad of players we've been given. So yeah, that's the England squad. Obviously, let us know what your thoughts to that are down in the chat, and we'll try and get back to you throughout the podcast. But it's already nearly 20-9, so I think it's about time we moved on to our next topic, which is talking about the 2017-18 Premier League season. Not sponsored by Barclays anymore, so the Premier League season. And, I mean, it's been a bit boring, I think, I think a lot of the places were set in stone from a very early stage. And, apart from a late fight back from West Brom, I don't think it's been that interesting, but...
It hasn't really. It's been a bit of a boring season overall. Really, obviously, it started with the whole Crystal Palace thing, Frank de Boer getting sacked. And I think you have to say how well Roy Hodgson's done for them to finish in 11th. The league really was a shock as well, in the fact that Man United just couldn't get it to take to Man City at all. Man City ran away with it.
But then Man United, have had, on the face of it, a very good season. I think, United, Tottenham and Liverpool have got almost as many points as what Chelsea had last season winning the title. And, I think it just shows what a season Man City have had.
Yeah.
They've come out, they've scored 100, or gained 100 points. They've scored 106 goals. They've only lost twice and only not won 6 matches. Now, that is a fantastic record, and not many teams pull that sort of thing off. They've broke the record this year. I think Chelsea were 95 in 2004-5 was the closest to that. So I think... Man United have had a very good season, and I'm actually surprised they finished second. I think it is a worrying sight that they're getting back onto form now, and possibly in the next few years they could topple Man City. A lot of people are talking about Man City dominance, but I think anything but. I think they're going to struggle to hold on to it next year.
Yeah. It's an interesting trend, isn't it? Because over the last few years, nobody's defended the title. And the teams that have won the title have done quite badly. Obviously, Chelsea only finishing 5th this year. Could have been worse. And obviously Leicester the year before.
Well, the last team to defend the title must have been Man United back in 2009.
Sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, that says it all, really. It is very difficult to defend your title in the Premier League now, and it's because it's so competitive at the top. And if Man City, lost another 4 games this season, it would have been a hell of a lot closer. You know, and 4 games making the difference in a season isn't a lot. It's not like the European leagues where they win by even more points than the 19 City won. But it's a bit of a freak result, it has to be said. But going down, I mentioned them before, West Brom. Stoke, disappointingly. I know you watched their opening game of the season. And Swansea, who had a absolutely horrendous end of the season.
Tell you what, I think that Stoke is the biggest shock of them all, 100%.
Yeah, I mean
The start
Swansea
of
have
the
been
season,
flirting with it for a few
yeah.
years, haven't they?
Well, they just completely went down the pothole, really, the end of the season. 5 losses in the last 5 games. It's just a disaster. But Stoke, oh my God, I mean, I went to watch them in their second. Actually, talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll see if I can find the ticket. I probably can't, probably put it in the bin, but, let's have a look.
I mean, yeah. How much do we actually care, everybody? No. Aaron, my night's going all right so far. He's on day shift tomorrow and feel like a zombie. Bless you. Alexandra Costa, I was impressed with Burnley's season out of all the 20 teams. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second.
Never mind. Never mind.
So yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises for me was Southampton being as low down as they were. They've been a staple top 10 club the last few years. So
well, that just shows that they can't keep doing this, selling thing when they keep selling players.
Yeah, I don't think they bought particularly well in the summer.
No,
I don't think they appointed particularly well in the summer. I think Sparky could actually do quite a decent job at Southampton after what he did at Blackburn, where he had the resources and had a decent team. Southampton is very much like that. I think he'll do all right. He did all right at Stoke. I don't know how you feel about that.
He did. He did well at Stoke.
Finishes, wasn't it? And then 13th.
He did well at Stoke. The thing at Stoke that the owners just didn't invest, and the transfer policy has been shocking. That's the reason that Stoke have gone down. I mean, the 3 biggest players they spent money on are Kevin Vimmer's in training with the under-23s. Saido Berahino, I've told you this. He lives literally down the road from me, and I saw him the other day in his car. He's been expelled from training. And Gianni Mbula, which they bought for 16 million, he's out on loan somewhere. Bojan's out on loan somewhere. Afalai's fell out with Lambert. You're talking a good 50-60 million quid there.
The only one that they've signed that's done decent is Shaqiri.
Yeah, and I think Shaqiri will go. I mean, but to be fair, apart from Shaqiri and Butland, I don't think there's anybody else that's good enough to go, apart from Joe Allen, obviously. Joe Allen, I think, is a really good player, and I'd have him back at Liverpool any day, to be honest. I think he's very underrated as a player, Joe Allen. But the likes of Charlie Adam, championship quality.
Stoke are very well set for next season, I think.
I don't know about that. I personally think that both Swansea and West Brom will both come back up. I don't think Stoke will. I think it's going to be a little bit like the Nottingham Forest effect at Stoke. Okay. I think it's going to take them a while.
Not Sunderland then.
Not quite Sunderland, but no, I don't think it's that bad. I just think they'll struggle next year because, I don't know, it's an amazing atmosphere at Stoke. I mean, I know some people up by Stoke, and they were saying how the last game of the season, Swansea was saying how it was the best away atmosphere they've ever seen because even though Stoke have gone down, the fans are still getting behind them, and that's something that's massive at Stoke. The fan support never goes. A little bit like Newcastle, they've got a really good set of fans. And I think that's something that's going to help them. But I feel like the chairman and etc. have got to pour money in now and make sure they get the right signings rather than spending money on rubbish.
Paul Lambert stay or go?
Yeah, stay. I think you do a good job in the Championship with them. They'd be foolish to change round. West Brom, I don't know why Darren Moore isn't given that job. I mean, the last 5 games they had, especially beating Man United, that was incredible.
They beat Tottenham and all, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, a good thing that Alexander has come up. About Huddersfield. I'm a bit worried about them next year. Because I feel like they got away with it. With that win, I can't tell who the win was against, but they got a win which basically helped them escape the drop. It was the...
What, Southampton?
No, Huddersfield.
Oh, Huddersfield. Okay.
I just feel like that it was... they drew with Man City, which helped. They beat Watford. I think that was the big thing. They beat Watford, and that was a last-minute goal, actually. Yeah, and there were 7 points clear of the relegation zone at that point, and yeah. I do worry about them a little bit because...
It's all about the summer. If they sign good players, they'll stay up, but...
Yeah,
exactly. I think the strength of the teams coming up, particularly in Wolves and Fulham or Villa, I think it is going to be tough for the likes of Huddersfield and Brighton to stay up next season.
Yeah.
I think Cardiff will probably come straight back down.
I don't know. I think with Warnock in charge, they can have a good go at it. I feel like he's.
I don't know. Yes, Warnock is very, very good Championship manager, but he's never really done it in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this year has just proven that anything can happen. In terms of the bottom, I mean, it's the first time for a long time that all of the sides that have come up have stayed up, and there's three. And you have to say, three established Premier League teams that have gone down. I mean, Stoke and Albion have been there for the best part of 10 years now, and Swansea have been there for the best part of 5 years because...
I think Swansea have been in there 7 years now, actually.
Yeah, that would make sense, because Rodgers was there, wasn't he? Anyway, yeah, so, 6-7 years, blimey. So that just shows that anything can happen. Overachieving side of the season, Burnley... Why Dyche hasn't got manager of the year is daylight robbery.
Well, who did get manager of the year?
Guardiola. Let's not talk about that.
I don't agree with that at all.
No, I don't either.
I think even Roy Hodgson has a case.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
But and I'll tell you one that goes very under the limelight. It's Eddie Howe. I mean, the start of the season again, they were worried about going down. You know, and they stayed out of the drop by 11 points.
But I worry for Bournemouth because it's a bit like the Swansea scenario where, you know, they keep having to dig themselves out in the last couple of games and eventually the luck won't go. Watford have had a bit of a disappointing season, I think.
They have, but if you look at Bournemouth, I mean, they scored the same amount of points as Newcastle. I understand Newcastle's just come up, but everyone's applauding Newcastle, so, you know, Bournemouth, same amount of points. I think that's good for them. Yeah, Watford have had a bad end, and they were particularly carried by their start to the season. They had a really good start to the season. I can guarantee, apart from Stoke, I would say that they're probably the lowest scoring team in the year in terms of points. If we go back to January, let's go to the 2nd of January.
Who are we talking about here, sorry?
Watford.
Okay.
Well, by the 22nd game, they'd already scored 25 of their points. So they only scored, 16 points the last 16 games? You know, compared to... Oh, actually, Stoke only scored 13, so yeah, that's about right. But, yeah, interesting. But I have to say, looking at 22 games in, well, the same three went down as were there in the 22nd game, which shows really how, in the end,
that's interesting.
And Southampton was 17th at that point as well. And that shows that, however, you know, it was kind of a bit of a foregone conclusion at the end. There was a bit of a switch around the start of the season, and I feel that, you know, Palace appointed well, and I feel like Stoke left it a little bit too late to get rid of Hughes because, you know, even though he's a good manager, I just feel like that managers, as they do everywhere, it just doesn't happen, you know, and unfortunately you get into a bit of a rut and things happen and it doesn't go too well.
I mean, Swansea were doing well for quite a large period from when they brought in Carvajal.
Yeah.
Until about March, I think, and they just started losing games. I think they were up to about 13th. They were around where West Ham are, and they just dropped down massively towards the end of the season. So, you know, I think Huddersfield are luckier than people are making out to stay up. Obviously Southampton as well, but yeah. Top 10 finishes for Leicester and Newcastle. I think both very good results, considering I think Leicester were down there earlier on in the season until Puel took over. And, you know, Rafa's done a great job at Newcastle. They went through a phase where I think they won 6 or 7 in a row. I think, you know, they lost 4 of the last 5 games and still finished 10th. They could have been up, you know, where Everton are, up in 8th. So, you know, that would have been a cracking season for Newcastle. But, you know, just ran out of steam at the end. Hopefully a bit of investment over the summer. Rafa stays, Newcastle another top 10 next year, I think.
Yeah.
Chelsea missing out on the top 4 is a fairly big surprise, I would say.
Yeah.
But not when you consider how well the top 4 teams have played.
Yeah, I feel like we've bottled it a little bit, to be honest, Liverpool in the end. Yeah. I mean, we had a shocking end to the season. And I feel like if we don't win the Champions League, then it's not a failure by any stretch, but it's not been the best of seasons. If that happens, just scraping into the top 4, and
I think it's a perfectly good season for Liverpool.
I just feel like the fact that Chelsea and Arsenal weren't competitive at all. I don't think either of them were competitive, particularly Arsenal, obviously, but Chelsea were.
But 75 points is no mean feat, and that would get top 4 most seasons.
12 draws, though.
Yeah, a lot of draws. Yeah,
the most draws in the league, actually, apart from the Albion. In fact, no, never mind.
Well, no, apart from
Southampton got
Brighton
15.
Brighton, Southampton, and West Brom.
Baggies, yeah.
So, do you think Chelsea will run away with the Europa League? No, I think Arsenal showed it this year. It's a very tough competition to win. I think United got lucky that year. I think they didn't play strong opposition.
They had good draws, didn't they? Yeah, definitely.
And I think Arsenal, in fairness, did very well to get the semi-finals. They had Milan, Moscow, which is not an easy trip in Russia, especially with what was going on at the time. And then obviously Atletico, and they didn't get thumped by Atletico. So, yeah, I don't think Chelsea will walk it next season. But obviously, there's going to be Arsenal in there as well. I think 2 very competitive English sides in the Europa League can only be a good thing.
Yeah. 3.
Well,
Burnley.
But Burnley aren't going to do it in Europe, unfortunately.
Really?
I don't even think they'll get into the group stage. So
They will. They will. Come on, have a bit of faith. I think they will. I think they will. Again, it all depends on the summer, but I'm quite optimistic. I don't think, obviously, they're not going to win it, but I think they'll get to. It all depends on their draw as well, but I feel like, yes, they'll get to the group stage, and European nights at Turf Moor, wouldn't that be fantastic? That would be brilliant. And they do it on a cold Wednesday night at Turf Moor. Actually.
Right, so coming up, we've got Wolves, which I know is around your neck of the woods, and Cardiff so far, and Villa or Fulham. So 3 strong sides, you would say. I think Cardiff is going to be the weakest of them, simply because I just don't think that their players are good enough for the Premier League. I think Warnock has done a great job there to get them out of the Championship, but it's like your Portsmouth team. I don't think it's good enough for the Premier League.
Rude.
So, I think that puts pressure on the likes of Watford. I think Watford could finish bottom next year.
Yeah.
Quite easily.
It's not against the realm's possibility at all. I just think, especially if Fulham comes up, that completely highlights my point about the 3 that are going down. Cardiff, Wolves and Fulham. It's taken them a long time to come back up. All of them. And obviously Wolves took a trip down to League One. I like the fact that Wolves come up until they've been linked with every bloody person under the sun. That's really getting on my head That's really getting on my head now. And
he was going to use a rather more risque word, but remember that he couldn't swear on the podcast.
Of course not. No, of course not. I wouldn't do that. No, I feel like Wolves will stay up definitely. As you say, Cardiff will go down, and. Yeah, I agree with Alexander, actually. I feel like Villa or Fulham, whoever comes up, might just scrape it. A little bit like Huddersfield have done this year.
You know what? I think if Villa go up, I think Villa could push for top 10, personally. I think they've got some good players. I think Fulham are more likely to scrape it, even though I think they're better at the moment. But I think Villa can attract more players.
I can agree with that. I can understand what
but we'll see. It's all speculation, isn't it? So...
Aye.
Anyway, do I watch the Championship? I don't even watch the Premier Leagues. No. But, I keep up to date with all the results and the news and stuff. So I know what's going on in football. I just personally don't watch
Allegedly.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation like this if I didn't know what was going on. But, yeah, I think that about wraps that up. I don't think we need to talk about individual players and stuff. It's all going to be Salah related if we're talking to you.
Just one thing, I suppose, before we finish this one off. Top 4 prediction for next season, not in any order. And who's going to go down? You can start.
I think Liverpool will drop out the top 4. I think Chelsea will take back the top 4. They'll probably finish second or something like that. Who's going to go down? I think Watford, Huddersfield and Cardiff.
Top 4 will stay the same as it has done this year. And going down, I agree with the Cardiff one. I will also go... I have to have a look who's in the league first. There's always one shock, isn't there? So I don't know. West Ham seems to be one that's...
their managerial appointment is huge. You know, like
I feel like it will be... Okay, we'll go with Watford, West Ham and Cardiff. Or a big one, Leicester, Watford and Cardiff.
I think Leicester's still just about too good to go down.
I don't know though. Claude Puel's had a bad end to the season. It's a little bit like the Carvajal thing. He had a really good start to when he came in, and then he kind of...
Yeah, he's got something to regroup now though and get his own players.
Yeah, definitely.
Any thoughts on Wimbledon being for the first time ever a division above MK Dons? I think that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and it just shows you how cheap it was to get MK Dons where they are. You know, it's such a cheap dig. I don't know what to say, but it's such a sly thing to do is what I'm saying. And it's good that they've got the comeuppance. Watch match of the day. I mean, I do now and again watch match of the day, but I don't know. Watching football doesn't really interest me anymore. You know,
it hasn't for me, to be fair. The end of the season, I don't look forward to watching matches anymore. I'd rather just watch the highlights, to be honest. And I feel like I have to do something while I'm watching the football. I can't just sit there and watch a football game anymore. Obviously, apart from if I'm there.
Well, there you go.
Which is very rare.
Right, so that's the end of that. We'll quickly talk about Spanish GP, which happened over the weekend. I don't think there's much to say about that, but ominously, for all of those people who were having a go at me saying that Mercedes were going to win easily and Hamilton was going to win a 5th world title, Mercedes dominated this weekend. You know, I think by the sort of 12 minutes of the weekend I've watched from the F1 channel, Mercedes dominated for me. But correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you watched FP1 until the checkered flag, so you know better than me.
I feel like they did. Yeah, I feel like you're right there. Little bit of a shame that, you know, it feels like on the start that it's happened every race this year. You know, the leader gets away, second place, can't really do much about it. And I felt a little bit for Bottas, seeing as really, apart from qualifying, which Hamilton is the best qualifier in the field, there's no doubt about that. Apart from qualifying, he was the fastest man of the weekend.
Was he, though? Hamilton won the Grand Prix by quite a considerable distance.
Yeah, but it was, you know, Bottas on a different strategy to Hamilton in that Bottas pitted 7 or 8 laps earlier than Hamilton.
Okay.
And Bottas was always consistently doing fastest laps. So I think that's quite good. Shout out to my mucker, Verstappen, getting on the podium ahead of Vettel. That was
another incident, though, which, you know, was a bit questionable. You know, like, he was probably within 1 mile an hour of being out of the race again. He was very lucky to stay in my
opinion. Am I being stupid? What happened?
He went into the back of somebody and lost half of his...
Oh, right, well, that wasn't his fault. That was the idiot. That was the Canadian tool. That was nothing
Stroll,
to do with him. That was Stroll.
Okay.
Stroll being half asleep. I could beat Stroll. You could beat Stroll. All of you in the chat could beat Stroll. Stroll is crap. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Now, was that your biasness coming over, or was it actually Stroll's fault?
No, he's rubbish. Honestly.
Well, was it actually Stroll's fault, though, is what I'm asking?
It was.
Okay.
Basically, it was a virtual safety car. It was a green flag, and Verstappen was right behind Stroll. Stroll was obviously getting a beautiful blue flag, so Verstappen went up the inside, and Stroll just didn't move because he didn't realise that the blue flag, the VSC had come in. So
Okay.
on this occasion,
Not Max's fault. But, yeah, so Hamilton now leads the championship by some silly, 17 points.
Yeah.
Vettel finishing 4th. Another disappointing weekend for Ferrari, it has to be said. And Raikkonen actually retired, didn't he? So
yeah, again, I just feel sorry for Raikkonen.
Honestly, it feels so much like the 2012 Schumacher season. It really does to me.
Brundle summed it up so well and said, if Raikkonen hadn't had the retirements, he feels like he could have been top of the championship at the moment.
Well, yeah, it was exactly the same with Schumacher in 2012. He was, I think he was second in the Australian Grand Prix before his car broke down. Malaysia, I think he was third, and then Grosjean took him out, which we'll talk about Grosjean in a minute. But I remember it vividly. So sort of the first 5 Grand Prix, Schumacher, if he'd finished where he was when incidents happened, he would have been top of the championship. And, I feel like it's exactly the same what's happening at Raikkonen.
Could argue the same for Bottas as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think Raikkonen's been a lot more unlucky than Bottas.
Yeah, definitely.
Just he's had dreadful luck this year, and it seems like he's lost his quality pace as well. That he had at the start of the season, but kept locking up into the last turn. Romain Grosjean then, a bit of an odd one. Unfortunately, took Hülkenberg out again.
Sorted.
So, I mean,
all of my favourite drivers went out of that race, apart from Bottas and Van Dorn. Did Van Dorn get? Did Van Dorn? I'm sure Van Dorn. I don't know. My memory just must be getting worse in my old age. Raikkonen went out. That's all that matters. And Grosjean.
Yeah. So Grosjean went wide, spun out, and I don't know, kept his foot on the accelerator. As far as I know, it's a bit of an embarrassing one, but these things can happen. First lap, lots of cars on the track. But he's just had a bit of a mare at the start of this season.
Yeah, I feel for him because Magnussen's just driving really well at the moment, and
But I don't think Magnussen's driving any better than Grosjean. I think Grosjean's just not finishing at the moment.
Magnussen's getting more out of the car though, as a general rule.
But didn't Grosjean qualify 7th?
Maybe not. Well, oh god, it's the BBC again. Apparently he qualified 20th. No, he didn't. He qualified 10th, and Max qualified 7th.
Alright. I thought I'd read somewhere that Grosjean qualified best of the rest.
I think he did in terms of for all the qualifying. Then
Grosjean had a three. Did Grosjean have a 3-place penalty? Oh no, that's for the next.
Race.
Okay, yeah. Oh dear. So the next Grand Prix is obviously Monaco, which is the ultimate snooze fest. I mean, one thing we know is that Verstappen's probably going to crash. He's crashed multiple times at Monaco, both seasons. So, all of his seasons.
One race he doesn't crash in.
Yeah, probably. And I think the pressure's on Verstappen at the moment, massively. I don't think that podium will have...
Apart from the fact he thumped Ricciardo this weekend,
Yeah, I mean, they didn't show much of that on the highlights, so I can't really comment.
Are we still going with Alonso winning around Monaco?
If you are.
Yeah, go on.
I think it's a big weekend for Mercedes. I think if Mercedes win this one, they're going to walk the rest of the season. I think it is going to probably be... I mean, Mercedes generally don't do well round here, so...
Yeah, that's true.
I think Raikkonen might get pole,
and then get shafted by the team again.
And then Vettel goes into the side of him at turn 1. Both Ferraris out the race. Alonso comes through to win the race.
Yay!
There we go.
I can see it.
But Alonso's first time doing Monaco since 2016, so you know.
I had a dream last night. We'll talk about that now. I had a dream that Jenson Button won the Canadian Grand Prix in a Force India.
Oh dear.
And that's the extent of my dreams, folks.
How did they do this weekend?
Force India, not particularly well. Ocon retired.
Ocon's had a bit of a shaky start of the season, actually.
He has, yeah, but I feel like the Perez thing's a bit skewed by the fact he got a podium in back.
Yeah, true. Just like the Stroll thing last year.
Yes, exactly like the Stroll.
But yeah, I mean, if Hamilton wins in Monaco, then I think we can basically say goodbye to a title fight, personally. Because Hamilton's going to win Canada. I know you have hopes that Bottas is going to challenge, but...
No, it's not so much Bottas.
You still think Ferrari can challenge then, even if Mercedes win Monaco?
Yeah.
Where Ferrari should be whooping them.
I don't know about that. I just feel like I will actually go Red Bull to win at Monaco.
Yeah, I quite fancy that. I quite fancy a Ricciardo win, actually.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with Ricciardo. Yeah. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Right.
Ricciardo first, Sorokin second, and
Ricciardo first. I think Alonso might get a podium, and I think Hamilton will finish second.
Hopefully he doesn't finish, but
I mean, he's scored points in the last 30 races. I think it's a little bit unlikely that...
streaks are always there to be ended.
Yeah, very true. And he's won the last 2 Grand Prix as well, hasn't he? So
yeah.
There's a couple of streaks going. So, yeah. And he's won the last... No, he's only won the last 1 World Championship.
Yeah, it's alright.
That's fine. Anyway, so that's that. A quick thing about F1 2018 that was announced earlier in the week, I think a lot of the F1 YouTubers got press releases, and they sort of announced it. I don't think there was any sort of formal announcement from Codemasters, from what I've seen. There was. It was
on the little blog, but there wasn't like any fancy pants advert or anything like that.
Okay. But the headline of it was "Make Headlines in F1 2018." Now, I think a lot's been made of this. I don't think that necessarily means that press interviews are back and stuff. I think it could quite easily mean the type of thing we had in F1 2012 to 14, where the little sort of article came up, if you like.
Yeah.
And it was just like, Hannard wins in Australia or something like that.
That never came up, did it?
And then a little bit of text about that. So, I don't know. You've even said that you're not going to get it on release day this year, which seems unthinkable for an F1 or former F1 YouTuber.
Yeah, I just didn't play 17 much, so I just can't quite.
But will your opinion be changed if, come the trailer, there is press conferences and interviews and?
Nah.
No. Okay.
I just felt like 2017 was one that, look at this, it was raved about and didn't, arguably didn't deliver.
I think if F1 2017 came 3-4 years ago, I think it would have been brilliant for me. But as a guy that doesn't have a great deal of time anymore to be ploughing into an F1 season, it's it's maybe too in depth for me.
Yeah.
Now, but no, I think that about wraps it up. I don't think we've got much else to talk about. Southgate is a shocking manager. Never achieved anything. How can he be England manager? I mean, the reason he's England manager is because of the whole Sam Allardyce farce. Southgate would have never been England manager in his career, I don't think. If that didn't happen. And, in fairness to Southgate, I think he's coming across very well. He did a decent job at Middlesbrough. I know they got relegated under him, but Middlesbrough aren't a big team. So apparently Benzema blackmailed a teammate. Now I think that's I remember something about that actually. We probably can't talk about it on camera, but but I'm willing to give Southgate a chance at this World Cup, and if he gets us out the group, I've got to say that's a success. We didn't actually give a prediction of how far you think England will go. How far do you think they'll go?
Round of 16.
Defeated by
Poland.
Ooh, interesting.
And it will be a France and Germany final, and Germany will win the World Cup.
Is that possible?
Yeah, it is. I did a little predictor the other day.
Okay.
I think Germany will win it.
Okay. I personally think England will get the quarters.
What are you going to say, then they're going to win it then?
No.
You're all right, Joe. Calm down.
But, they're on a favourable side of the draw. If shocks take place elsewhere, England could quite easily find themselves in the semi-final. But they're relying on Brazil or Germany going out earlier than expected. So
I don't feel like Belgium are as big as an opponent as people are making out. I feel like Belgium could easily not bottle it. I think they'll get out of the group, but I can actually see us drawing against Tunisia and Panama and actually beating Belgium.
Nah, I think we will beat Tunisia. I think there's a whole different outlook to this team than what we've previously had. By the way, I saw this game on BBC Sport. So to finish this off, I think we should do this, right? We'll do it together. Right? Can you name the England squad for the 2014 World Cup in under 3 minutes?
Did it the other day. Ricky Lambert.
No, well, fine then. Well, if you've done it the other day, then there's no point. So, honestly.
I only got about 10.
You only got what?
I only got about 10 in the end.
Okay. Well, forget that then. Forget that. But, no, I think England will make quarters, personally. And I think that would be a really big success for us. If we could get there. First quarterfinal since Euro 2012.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I can never remember, to be honest.
Yeah, but the problem with the Euros, there was only 16 teams in it back then. So
to be fair, yes, that's a bit skewed. I think it's the first World Cup that we've got.
Oh, 2006. Yeah. And we went out on penalties to Portugal. I remember it very well. You were only a little baba back then, but No, I remember both defeats to Portugal in Euro 2004 and the World Cup 2006. Both very devastating at the time, and both penalty defeats as well. I remember it was in the 92nd minute or something. Sol Campbell actually headed the ball into the back of the net in 2004, and then it was ruled out for offside, and we lost on penalties in the end. And I think that's when Rooney broke his foot as well in that match.
Don't know.
Yeah, well, you won't remember, but no, good times with that team. I don't know how we didn't win the World Cup with that team, but that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But no, that is where we're going to wrap up this podcast with our highest viewing figures of the night, because that is the way we do things around here. So I just want to say a massive thank you for everyone that's come along. It has been a good little chat. We've had a little bit of activity in there, and we really do appreciate it. We're 12 episodes in now. I think over the next few weeks it might be a bit scatty as to when we're doing it. As far as I know, we are planning to do it on Tuesday. But after that, I really don't know, because we've both got exams and stuff, and then summer happens. So, yeah. But thank you very much for joining us for our 12th episode, and we shall see you on Tuesday for Unlucky 13. Thank you very much for watching. Have you got anything else to say, Mr. TIJ?
How for you the same.
Well, there you go. There you go. We never got much out of him at the start. We're not going to get much out of him at the end. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.